All right, guys, we are here today. Yeah. Honestly, today we got some stuff coming out. Market had some interesting stuff last week. This week is, pretty big. We got payroll data, non-farm payroll data. It's a short week. Yesterday was Labor Day, and so yeah, it is Tuesday today. Markets were completely closed yesterday. We had NVDA earnings. We had other PCE data Friday, GDP data Thursday. All of it showed pretty good results here. So it's interesting how the market's still down some. But that's all right. Again, the market is up a massive amount over the last few, the last 6 months or so. It had some interesting stuff, pretty big. We're going to do a poll here today. The question is, does the stock market, does the SPY close red or green today? That'll be our poll question. What's up, Eric, Ray, Blake, Steve, XRP, Sam, Jeremy, Danny, Freddie, Pawn, Radical, Joseph, Jimmy, Yair. What's up, guys? All right, Tesla at 216. So Tesla back up a little bit today. Tesla is actually one of the green stocks. NVIDIA down. NVIDIA's at 116.90 here, so NVIDIA is down today, which is interesting as well. NVIDIA's down some. There we go. Yeah, NVIDIA down a little bit. Still falling. Had an okay day. Friday, it was flat mostly. Completely neutral. It's kind of been flat for the last few days. This is the first big action we've gotten on either side. GameStop actually starting to make a little bit of a move up. GameStop back up to $24 a share. 10 and 2-year bonds uninverting. Yeah. Why is the Dixie gaining strength? Well, the dollar index is probably going up because of last week's economic reports. We had better GDP than expected. That's usually favorable. We had, although PCE was flat, generally like high PCE can make the dollar go up. But yeah. Again, Tesla at 216s. SPY at 561s. Very nice. We do a bunch of different stuff, Robert. We trade a lot of different ways on it, to be honest. It depends on what the part of the day is, like what's going on. All right. What's gonna happen to Supermicro semiconductors? I don't know, man. I tried to, I'm not gonna say I warned people, but I definitely told people that it was risky and that I'm not investing into it. It's high risk, high reward. I've said this over and over again. It's down to 430s, and again, it's not a shock. They had a short report that came out on them by Hindenburg Research, and yeah, they're down massive percentages. I tried to tell people, right, like you can't just buy up all these overhyped stocks, right? Like this is why I disagree with Kathy Wood in a lot of ways, is because she buys up stuff like this, and the risk is just so high with these, man. Again, I tried to tell people before this drop even happened. If anybody watched my stream, you guys know I was somewhat critical of Supermicro semiconductors as a buy. I just didn't think it was worth the risk there, and I think verbatim what I said is that it might go up. It could also drop massively, and so you just got to be careful with stuff like this. Anything that goes up a big percentage short term can, especially like a low float stock, can also drop a big percentage short term. And you have to understand that just because it's overhyped up, like people get dollar signs in their eyes and they want to get rich, and they end up just kind of underestimating the risk that they're taking with stuff like Supermicro, unfortunately. And I see a lot of people lose money. And it's one of those stocks that, like, if anything, if you're buying any stock that's up this big of a percentage, right? Like this thing, in like just this year alone, this thing was up like 300% or more. And so if you're like, that's too extended for me to buy up anything. I usually choose to be the opposite. I usually try to buy up like healthy companies that are pulling back a lot if I can find them, right? Which is not always the easiest thing, but yeah. I don't know, Mo. It depends, brother. It depends, man. I have no idea what I would do. I have no idea what you should do either. He said, no, I'm down a big amount. Should I close it or hold it? I have no idea. You can ask the chat, but again, not liable if you lose. No idea what you should do. Not an investment professional. I have no idea. You know, anything I do or say is not investment advice, and you got to make your own decision there. We're not liable if you lose money because I have no idea what Super Micro is going to do, brother. So yeah, just be careful. All right, so yeah, I mean, I'm not giving any specific financial advice. They're selling off for no reason and will end up green. I don't know, man. I think you got to look at like fundamentals behind the company itself. You know, if we look at Super Micro Semiconductors, let's take a look at it. Let me use AI here. The reason AI is powerful is because list the last 4 quarters of EPS for SMCI. I know C3 AI has some earnings. Yeah. Let's see. Does this look correct, you guys? 625, 665, 559. Wait, so I want the last 4 trailing 12-month. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think you got to look at like the Hindenburg short report, right? So I think that's an interesting one to look at. So if we look at Hindenburg, I'm looking at Hindenburg short report, see what they said here. They had a short report that came out a couple days ago by Hindenburg Research. They had a couple other things, but the big, like, when they target big stocks, that's the one, everybody. They said accounting manipulation, sibling self-dealing, sanctions, evasion, and more. You know, if we look at their actual site here, They say Supermicro is a $35 billion server maker based in Silicon Valley. 3-month investigation includes interviews with former senior employees, industry experts, litigation records, international corporate and customs records, found glaring accounting red flags, evidence of undisclosed related party transactions, sanctions, and export control failures, customer issues. Yeah, this is 2018. There's a lot to go through that I just don't have time for. But I think with like companies like this are needed in the age of AI. What's up, comma? All right, so yeah, I'm looking at the yield curve inversion. I'm trying to see where it's actually at. Yeah, so there's been a couple times. This yield curve. So early 2020, the yield curve inverted. It uninverted shortly after the Fed brought interest rates to near zero. It also happened in 2019. The last time it inverted was in July of 2022, so a few years ago, about 2 years ago. It has become the longest on record, which is an interesting nuance of everything, because of potential fears of recessions following the yield curve uninverting. Yeah, we do have C3 AI earnings this week. All right. Man, there's some crazy videos that keep popping up on social media, man. Um, hmm. Man, these AI tools, yeah. So this week we do have some earnings plays. I don't know if I'm going to cover C3. We'll see. I'll try to. But I believe it's tomorrow. We also have Zscaler, GitLab, Asana, Health Equity, and some other ones this evening. Tomorrow morning we got Dollar Tree, Dick's Sports, Hormel, a bunch of other ones. Wednesday is the big. Tomorrow afternoon is the big one. We got C3AI, Hewlett Packard, ChargePoint, a couple other ones. And then Thursday, we got Neo, which is pretty big, Toro, a couple other ones affirmed. Broadcom, Thursday evening. We have Broadcom earnings, AVGO. Now, I've been thinking about covering Broadcom. Like, Broadcom's a big stock. A lot of people, like, I have people at my jiu-jitsu gym that talk to me about Broadcom. You know, they're all about it. I haven't really been an investor in it. But when you look at the long-term movement, it's a good long-term chart. It's just, yeah, even this year, it's up pretty big percentages. So maybe I'll have to look into it. We also have, again, another, like, people are always talking about Dollar Tree and all that stuff. We got Dollar Tree today after Dollar General had a really negative response. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there, to be honest, right? Like, DLTR is Dollar Tree. And so I'm wondering, like, again, usually the market's pretty efficient. But, like, okay, so Dollar General had this big negative reaction to earnings, you know? And so I'm sure that at least some people have these type of plans where they see DG have this big negative reaction here, and they look at Dollar General to have a similar move. You know, percentage-wise, when we look at how much, you know, Dollar General dropped. Dollar General dropped from 124 all the way down to, like, let's just call it $90 a share. It's lower than that now. It's at $83 a share, right? So that percentage-wise is a 33% drop for Dollar General. If we look at Dollar Tree to see what the similarity is here, it's at about, like, let's just call it 85. And it was at 95 prior. So that's about a 10% drop, a little bit more than 10%. It's probably like 12% or something like that, 10.5%. Yeah. So I guess the point is that Dollar Tree dropped a smaller percentage than Dollar General, and the reason Dollar General dropped is from earnings. So I guess the question I'm asking here is, are we going to see a similar move, even though Dollar Tree has already kind of reacted to it? Are we going to see a similar move to Dollar General, which again dropped 33%, over 33% really? So I don't know. Did you see the Chase glitch viral trend? Explain it to me. I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it. Explain it to me. Yeah, but they're going to fail eventually. I mean, everybody kind of knows this, though. Like, these businesses are going to fail eventually, right? Like, it's inevitable. Like, they're going to go out of business. You know, they just don't have... They're going to lose... They don't have the margins. Like, if you want to know why they're going to fail, they simply don't have the margins to succeed, right? Like, what do I mean by that? I mean, what's the margin at Dollar Tree? Dollar General. Somebody was telling me it was like 5%, right? You know how much business you need to make to pay for rent? 5%. at 5%. Like, that's a ton of business, and they're just not getting it. And so eventually they are going to fail. And I think that's a very obvious thing. Oh, I did see that, actually. Yeah, but people are dumb, man, especially young people. I did see that, though, about the chase glitch. People are stupid, man. Yeah, I don't know the difference between any of them, and I haven't been to one. The closest I've come is going to Big Lots, and it's been a while since I went there, too. But yeah, point is, Dollar Tree, C3 AI, got the best symbol in the game with the symbol AI. It's been pretty flat for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. You know, here's 2023. It did make a pretty good moves in 2023, but it's basically been stagnant since then. It's going up and down, up and down. Yeah, of course, Chase isn't going to let you just glitch money from them. Chase is one of the biggest banks in the world. They're not playing with that type of stuff. They're just not. They're not playing with that type of stuff. They, yeah. Yeah, it's called fraud, comma. He said the glitch is basically, yeah, I mean, that's called fraud. Of course you're going to get in trouble for that. Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, it's just fraud. And again, people are dumb. Like, that's the easiest way to put it. People are dumb. People believe anything. Young people especially are dumb. I was dumb when I was young. I can't judge, but I was definitely dumb. Yeah, isn't Big Lots public? What are they looking like? Yeah, BIG. Yeah, Big Lots, same kind of concept. They are down to 50 cents a share. Oof, they're doing horrible as well. I mean, the writing's on the wall here. The only thing that I think will save companies like this is short squeezes, right? But I think they're all going to fail. They're all going to fail eventually. Who knows when they're going to fail, but they're inevitably going to fail. And I think that's very clear with most of these big companies, right? Like, most of these big companies are going to fail. You know, I saw some type of update here. Yeah, I saw some type of update. Yeah, I saw some type of update on SPY won't ever test all-time highs or what? Of course they will. SPY's gonna eventually test all-time highs. It's just gonna, like, you gotta wait for another bull run. And right now, NVIDIA has been correcting some. And honestly, yeah, the SPY got very close to all-time highs. This might have broken it. Wait, let me see. Where was the previous all-time highs? It was at 565.16. Yeah, so this is the previous all-time highs right here. So this morning, it got close. And again, it's been consolidating around these highs for a while now. The Q is nowhere near the highs, not anywhere near it. That's the previous all-time highs. Yeah, so again, that's the previous all-time highs. We'll see if we can break it. If you look back on a daily chart, you can kind of see it up here. Again, I just don't know if we're ever going to get close to that. Or we're going to get close to it. Let me rephrase. Who knows when? It might be recent. It depends on how the economic reports coming out this week might help. So today we have ISM manufacturing PMI, a pretty big report actually. You know, so manufacturing PMI, it's the Purchasing Managers Index. ISM is the Institute of Supply Management. It's a pretty big report today. It's not like crazy big. It's not like CPI or PCE or GDP or payroll data or anything like that. But it's somewhat relevant. Tomorrow's report is probably pretty big though. The jobs report, the JOLTS report, job opening report tomorrow is very big. You know, so today we got ISM data. Tomorrow we've got the JOLTS report at 10 a.m. That's a big report. We also have, the JOLTS report at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so that's pretty big. So what did you guys do for Labor Day? Ugh. Yeah, definitely top 3 dumbest people in the world. NVDX, the ETF for NVIDIA. Yeah, so NVDX, the reason you would hold it is it's simple, it's cheaper, number one. It's also 2 times leveraged, which means that it's going to have 2 times the gains or losses of NVIDIA, if that makes sense, right? So it's leveraged. It's 2 times leveraged. Partied and made us, yeah. Hung out with the family. Yeah, so we hung out with the family, relaxed. ETFs have fees if you hold overnight. The underlying stock does not. Sure. Yeah, that's true. But again, there's pros and cons for them for sure. Number one, NVDX is $13. So if you want to buy a bunch of them and get like, it would be the equivalent of buying 2x the amount of, like, so if you buy 100 shares of NVDX, it's going to be the equivalent of buying 200 shares. The gains and losses, right? So there's good and bad things about it. It's also cheaper. The fees are certainly higher being an ETF, though, for sure. All right, chat. All right, guys. So, what's up? Trading chips are down. Yeah, so they're down today. Yeah, you double your gains, but losing to, yeah, about right. But you could also potentially double your losses as well, right? So in the end, it depends on how much you believe in NVIDIA at these current prices, right? Percentage wise. All right, so we got 400 people here already. I'm looking at the poll. We got hundreds of votes. 55% think red. So most people think we're going to be red today. 46% think green. Yeah, I don't know how the market's going to react to this election. I really don't. I know, and again, I'm very neutral on both of them. But yeah. Yeah. We're at 116.80s. Sorry, social media will just kind of get you wrapped up. Yeah, but anyways, the big stuff we got going on this week, we got the JOLTS report. It's expected at 8.09 million. That drops tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Big report. It's the next big report we have is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Again, it's called the JOLTS report, the JOLTS job opening report. That's tomorrow. Is it time to buy? You know, again, it is a big week. Not only do we have the JOLTS report, but Thursday, we have jobless claims, unemployment. We've got the ADP prelim. It's called the ADP non-farm employment change numbers. So it's a big week for jobs, right? So we got jobless claims, ADP non-farm employment change, prelim non-farm data, and then we've got services PMI tomorrow or Thursday evening or Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And then Friday is the biggest day for sure. Friday we've got payroll data, unemployment data. So non-farm payroll is probably the biggest report this week. It drops Friday at 8:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Eastern time on Friday. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing this week is the payroll data. Unemployment data will also be big. A lot of people are pushing towards this recession fear situation. Again, I'm thinking we're going to cut rates next month, especially after this latest string of economic data. It's now September, or no, this month, I mean. Yeah, it is now September, and a rate cut is almost certain. Of course, a rate cut is almost certain. Now, we'll see what that means. We'll see what happens, but yeah, we're going to cut rates this month, almost certainly. I'm a perma bull. I'm not always bullish. You know, there was a time when NVDA was at 140s that I was telling people, hey, things are up a little bit too much for me to want to buy up stuff right now, right? If you guys pay attention to my stream, you guys know I was saying that. There's a point in time where things are up too much short term where I don't feel like buying stuff. But I just believe long term, the market's going to go up, and that's an inevitable thing for the most part, right? It's not always like 100% definitive, but it's pretty probable that the market's going to go up over time. I think people get really wrapped up in politics and you know, the doom and gloom bias. You know, and the real issue with that is that they don't really understand, and they get so wrapped up in like this world is going to end situation. Usually it's driven by political bias that they underestimate how consistent the stock market is, right? Regardless of what happens. It's also an election year. Generally, the market does better on election years. And so, you know, we're in a situation where the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, it's going to go up long term. Here's a monthly chart. You know, if you look at 1992's, the SPY was at $43. Right now it's at $560. And so missing out on this edge is something that you do not want to miss out on, right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to buy. But if you don't at least have something invested into index funds to hedge against long-term inflation losses, you're making a mistake, right? I'll do the math again. We'll pull our calculator up. If you do not invest and hedge against inflation, okay, let's say you have $500,000. Okay, let's say you got $500,000. I meet a lot of people, right? I met this guy at my gym, and the guy was like talking to me about. He's like, "Yeah, I got $100K that I've just tucked away." And I asked him, I was like, "Well, how long have you had that chunk of money?" And he's like, "Oh, decades." And I'm sitting there like, "Bro, like you've been holding $100,000 for decades?" And I told him, I'm like, "Look, man, you could buy bonds and it's virtually guaranteed." And so, but if you don't invest, right? Let's say inflation grows at 2.5% a year. You know, if you don't invest in something, you're gonna go. Let's do 500,000 times 0.975, right? So this is 2.5, like a very conservative inflation metric, right? So we could do. I could do X20 or whatever to do 20 years, but I'm just gonna show you year by year. What this is going to look like. Let's say you got 50 or 500,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Within 10 years, you're going to lose over 20% of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Within 20 years, you've lost 40%. You know, 40%. It's something that you just don't, like, you're going to lose so much money if you don't invest into something, right? Now, the most guaranteed one is the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow. Those are very consistent. If you look at these on average, they give you about 8 to 10% a year on average. Not every year. It's not, you have good years and bad years, but on average, it's about 8 to 10%. And so people underestimate that. They get wrapped up in political bias. They constantly think the market's going to crash. But again, that 8 to 10%, it includes crash. It includes crash statistics, right? So good years is going to do much better than that. And so missing out on that, you just got to be long-term. Long-term's the way. Short-term, anything could happen. If you don't think you can not touch it, get a financial advisor or whatever, a manager to manage your account so that he doesn't touch it if you're not able to just let it sit. And again, I'm not telling you what to do. Do whatever you want to do, guys. I haven't looked at Nike. Somebody's talking about Nike. Yeah. Honestly, my Nike dip buy worked. It actually worked. So, yeah. Let me pull up this, see what other big news stories we got on the day. All right, guys. So, yeah. So, wait. Is my math off there? Yeah. September. Yeah, the big thing is that next month, or this month now, we do have major catalysts in the rate cut decision. Yeah, what's up, Beach Bum? All right, so the U.S. stock market. All right, let's see how good AI is. So let's check out the VIX. Okay, so yeah. All right, so yeah, NASDAQ dropped over 2%. Fear gauge. Why does it say the VIX dropped to its highest level in 3 months? That's not correct. See, this is where AI gets it wrong. General Mills, GIS, reaffirms their annual guidance, so that just came out. This is where AI gets it wrong, dude. AI is just not the most accurate. There's General Mills reaffirming their annual guidance. Yeah, so there's this trend about people taking advantage of a glitch in JP Morgan Chase ATMs that allow users to deposit a check without the available funds and immediately have access to the money listed on it. It's being shared across TikTok and other stuff. People are dumb, bro. They're just dumb. Like, you're putting yourself in debt, you know? All right, so a lot of people are talking about Intel potentially getting removed from the Dow. Near 60% decline in the company's shares this year that has made it the worst performer on the index and left it with the lowest stock price on the price-weighted Dow. So people are talking about Intel getting dumped. I agree. I think Intel should be dumped. I was investing into it for a while, but it was one of those rare times that I bought into something after big pullbacks, and it just kept on and pulling back. It's back up to 22s, though, but yeah, I'm not necessarily against it. you know, yeah. Volkswagen plants potentially closing. Yeah, so they put out they're telling people that people with big losses at Supermicro can put in a big can sue them. Lawyer headhunters coming after Supermicro Semiconductor now with a short report. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think the VIX spiked up today, which is interesting. So it's back up to 16.5, which is the biggest level since, you know, last Thursday or so. Volatility is going to be high later on this week versus earlier because of the big economic reports that we got coming out. Yeah, Intel's struggling for sure. NVDA going to bring down the SPY. NVIDIA doesn't really, like, NVIDIA influences the SPY, but not nearly as much as it influences the QQQ, right? The QQQ is a more tech-based ETF and more tech-heavy. It's more weighted towards tech than the SPY. The SPY still moves with the Q for sure, but I think NVIDIA... NVIDIA is the 5th most profitable company. Yeah, so NVIDIA is not even in the top 10, or not even in the top 5 in the SPY. In the Q, though, in the Q, it's pretty high up there, you know. So, yeah, so in the Q, the NASDAQ 100 is, when I say the Q, really what I'm talking about is the NDX, right? If you want to see the futures contract of the NQ, or if you want to see the ETF counterpart to it, which is QQQ, right? This is basically the NASDAQ. NVIDIA is number 3 weighted in the NASDAQ, right? So the list of the NASDAQ goes Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Broadcom, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, Costco, Google. So that's the first couple. With Apple doing really well recently is also here. So Apple. Here, I got to change this. Yeah, I was looking at 3-year charts. I'd rather it just be 1 year. Because here's a 52-week chart, and here's Apple. So Apple's had a good year, all the way back up to 230s. You know, a couple, like, not that long ago, people were talking about how Apple was going to get delisted, and, like, there's just so much... There's so much nonsense for this type of stuff, man. Like, people fall for so much stuff. And I remember telling people, at the time, everybody's saying Apple's weak, Apple's weak, Apple's going to get delisted and all this ridiculous stuff. And I told people Apple's one of the strongest companies in the world, right? Like, people jump on bandwagons for bearish stuff so easily, and they don't actually think about what they're doing. And you see it a lot with stuff like Apple, right? Everybody talking about how Apple's going to fail, it's going to get delisted. Again, Apple's one of the strongest companies. That is super unlikely. Yeah, I mean, the Dow is still one of the biggest index funds in the world. I don't think that's going to influence. Somebody's asking about the death at Wells Fargo, where they basically just found an older employee over 60 that passed over the weekend. Yeah, I don't think this is going to negatively impact Wells Fargo at all. I mean, you know, is it sad? Sure, but it's not really anything major. Regardless of whether people say it is or not. No. People were talking about Apple getting delisted. They were talking about Apple crashing. Their argument was that they're not innovating anymore. This was just a couple months ago where they were talking about Apple. Apple was falling a little bit at the time. And it kind of shows a lot of people were saying it. I probably get a more direct look at what people are saying versus you, though, because I run a community like this. And so I'm going to see people saying it more than, but yeah, it's interesting for sure. Apple back up. Okay, what's up? South. Yeah, Intel's not looking great for sure. Struggling. Again, looking at our poll, still people mostly bearish today. Most people are essentially bearish. Yeah, y'all hit the like button, guys. Hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. I can't hear you, dude. Oh, hey, guys. What are you doing? Here, don't get on that. That stuff's dusty, dude. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Here, get off the floor, man. About to go to school, buddy. All right. Where's your... All right. All right, guys. Yeah, September's not really a great month historically for the stock market. Right, so September's not generally a good month. It can be. Every month is always, can be different, and so it's not like it's a definitive yes or no look at anything. I mean, I'm gonna update this layout so I kind of right in the middle here. I think that's better. Yeah, it was a long weekend. Honestly, I enjoyed it. I needed some time off here. Yeah, Intel. We're looking at that. NVIDIA's still at exactly 117. So it's at exactly 117. So yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. All right. All right, guys. So sorry I'm back. All right, guys. Love you, buddy. Have a good day at school, man. Love you. Have a good day, guys. All right, sorry. Telling my kids goodbye. They're going to school. Let me find. Yeah, so we got this one. There we go. Yeah. So again, stuff's down. I tend to be kind of bullish right now, believe it or not. I think like my guess is that we bounce back a little bit today. Maybe wrong. I could certainly be wrong. You know, maybe ISM manufacturing PMI data might be kind of big here. So we do have, yeah. And again, we've got one of these challenges that we're playing here on Top Step X. I might buy this dip just a little bit, take a little starter position here in this one. You know, we need less than $1,500 to get funded on Top Step. So we are playing around with this right now. We're up 25, 35, 40. I do have to be careful though, because we are at the top of the range. And so I don't really want to get stuck. Like the biggest risk that I see on this chart right now is that, you know, here's the top of the range, right? Like that's kind of where we're close to now. And so I don't really want to get stuck. If the move ends up happening like this, I don't want to get stuck in that. Like I don't want to, let me get myself out of the way here. Hold on. Like if the move ends up happening like that, I don't want to get stuck in it, you know. So there we go. All right, we made a little bit of money. I was up 75 for a second, and I kind of bought that. But I guess I'll look for another pullback first. Let's see what we get. What's up, Jan or Jan? What's up, Andrew? Lost. What's up, chat? So we did get a move up, honestly. We did get a little bit of a bounce up here. Realistically, you think all-time highs are coming? Most I see do. I don't know if all-time highs are coming. It depends on what. Like, if we're talking about the SPY, probably eventually. You know, like short term, I think the SPY is pretty close to all-time highs. If we look at the SPY, I think it has the greatest chance of bumping all-time highs. Again, all-time highs are right here. This big yellow line is the all-time high level on the SPY. How about LSU losing, man? How about LSU losing, man? Honestly, the USC game, our quarterback looks good. I like our quarterback, to be honest. But he doesn't have that killer instinct that you need, unfortunately. And USC looked good, man. I'm disappointed in LSU losing for sure. Yeah, we got NFL starting up as well. I was hoping LSU would do good, but LSU lost Jaden Daniels, so I'm still kind of bummed about that, but it's all right. Yeah, I'm not Canadian, so I really have no idea. Yeah, it's a loss to a good team for sure, but it's still, still not what I wanted, obviously. And again, guys, we do have ISM manufacturing PMI data later on today, so it's pretty big. ISM PMI will influence things. Now, we don't know how much, but generally speaking, ISM data is big. It's not the biggest, but it's expected today at 47.5. 47.5. Again, it drops at 10 a.m. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, but I mean, y'all are Arizona. No offense, but LSU's a better school. You can't really get mad at them, Chris. No offense. LSU's just a better school, at least for sports in the SEC. Right now, it's education-wise, it's different. Like, I don't really want my kids to go to LSU. I love LSU. I'm from Louisiana. I want LSU to do well in sports, but I'd rather my kid go to like A&M. It's just a better school. As much as I hate to say it, it's just a better school. The rate decision this year. So again, the rate decision is going to be the biggest event of this month. It's in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks and a day is when the rate decision is. So 2 weeks and a day. So the rate decision is on September 18th. So in 2 weeks and a day, right? Right now, it's still wildly expected that we're going to cut 25 basis points, which I personally think is the right decision. Like, I think 25 basis points is fine. Yeah, I mean, Hayden, that has to do with your browsing habits and like what you browse and like what they show you, how can people day trade profitably when there's always data coming out? Because the data is data, and it's not always the most influential. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. We just covered the data. That's the best we can do. Michigan's all right. They're okay. I mean, I thought their defense actually looked pretty good. I think their QB was good, though. The USC QB was good. Overall, I didn't think we looked bad. I think USC's a good team, Unfortunately, losing this game, though, means that we're probably not going to make it to the championships unless we win every game moving forward, Why is everyone worried about the jobs report on Friday when it's pretty much decided on rate cut? Like, one report wouldn't change the idea of a rate cut, would it? No, not really, And the jobs report's the least report that would. Like, even if, like, the reason we cut rates is if we have economic weakness or economic weakness is like a possibility moving forward, right? And so, I guess people could theorize that if the economy data shows strong numbers, that there's no need to cut rates. But again, it's really not going to influence a rate cut. But I guess the point is people don't pay attention to these reports only to gauge whether we're going to cut rates, right? People look at these reports to gauge how much we might cut rates into the future, how often we might cut into the future. So it's not like it's only about a rate cut. It's not. Like, it's about a lot of stuff. But yeah, I forgot to say, now we have 12 teams. So now maybe, hopefully. And I think that's the best move. Right, for sure. Network, 100%. That's correct. And so it's still okay. Like, but I don't know if that team is a playoff team. I didn't think LSU defense looked that bad, though. I thought they looked all right. I just think that yeah, we'll see. Yeah, mostly again the biggest thing for news. The biggest thing for news is that you got to just avoid when the catalyst drops. Like, again, a lot of traders get wrapped up in gambling. I was listening to this thing, and it was talking about how these guys, they're so addicted to gambling, right? Like, you got some people that are addicted to options and gambling, right? And so they are waiting for earnings to get released, and they are just taking huge option positions, trying to swing their accounts away. And again, guys, I'm here to say, if that's you, you are addicted to gambling. Right? There's no edge doing that. Like taking a big option position ahead of earnings, trying to basically bet on the earnings play and then crying when it doesn't do exactly what you want or what you think it should is a gamble. It's just straight up gambling. Like you'd be better off at the casino. I don't know if you'd be better off at the casino, but a lot of people are justifying gambling in stocks and they're taking huge options positions ahead of earnings, and there's no edge. There's literally no edge, right? Like you're flipping a coin for massive amounts of your net worth, and it's just dumb. No offense, it's just dumb. And again, the people enabling that on social media are worse, right? Like, there's not really any big edge. The smart, profitable traders are usually the ones that, again, I say this before, they get into a reactive mindset. They react to the data instead of trying to predict the data, because predicting the data is not going to get you very far at all. It's just not going to get you very far. Reacting to the data, you can have an edge depending on what the market does. If you've got big reactions on one side, you can kind of take advantage of that polarity and ride, take positions on the other side and take advantage of extension and stuff like that. So there's some edge that you can get involved with if you wait and are patient. But a lot of traders, again, are just justifying gambling. They're taking huge positions ahead of earnings, and they're just gambling away their account. And then they cry when the stock doesn't do what it wants them to do. And this might hurt for some people here to hear, but it's important. I've known people that have gambled away and they didn't understand it, and some of them even mocked my trading, right? They would mock my swing trading and they'd say, oh, you're telling me I'm only picking up peanuts in some of my investments and swing trades. And again, the problem is that your graph will look like this sometimes, right? When you're doing this, okay, that's not a real candle. That's a random candle. Yeah, the problem is that your graph when you do this might look like this, right? You get a little bit of gains in, get a little bit of gains in, get a little bit of gains in, and then boom, right? Like that's what it might look like. Because if you keep adding to positions, or you keep getting lucky sometimes you're going to think that you're better than you are at it. I've met a lot of people that they gamble big on options, they make big money, they're addicted to that rush, right? And then they don't understand it. And I think it's a hard thing for people to accept too, that there's not much edge in betting on random earnings reactions. There's just not much edge, but people get stuck with it, and they end up just kind of gambling their account away. Sometimes it works out for them, I guess. Yeah, no. I knew a guy that he would gamble big on these earnings plays, right? He'd take huge positions, gambling a lot percentage of his account, like a big percentage of his account. And, he would have a good one, right, where one worked out for him and he made big money, and he'd come over and he would mock me and be like, oh, that's not how you do it. Like, just make fun of my small gains, being like, that's nothing, and then the next week for earnings, he would lose his entire account and then be bummed and kind of depressed and sad about it. And again, that's the point, right? That's the point. That's why I tell people here, the people you see in the comments, like, mocking you or, like, trying to make fun, usually they're just struggling. They're just kind of, or they just don't understand. They lack experience, and so they think that they know when they don't. But again, the best edge you can do is options can be profitable. You just got to know it really, really well, and it's almost never profitable to bet on earnings plays like that, or economic reports regardless. Earnings plays, very random. Even if you predict correctly the outcome in terms of like what the earnings show up as, whether they're good or bad, the reaction can be completely different than what you might think. And so there's literally just no edge in trying to do that. Unless the only way I hold through earnings calls are if I'm holding something long term. And that way, it doesn't matter as much. It happened to me. Finally, I had to reevaluate my trading plan. Yeah. People mock what they don't understand. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think people are weird, man. Humans are weird, dude. People are weird. I know a couple people, like I know one of my wife's exes who, I feel for him. Like, I just feel for him. Like, he might be one of the trolls, too, that's just kind of out and, like, just, but, like, he would talk so much smack about me and all this stuff. And then like when you check his profile, he's very obviously like copying off of me, you know? So it's like I started this YouTube channel and he saw that I started this YouTube channel. So he's like, hey, I'm day trading on Robinhood, guys. Oh, look at me day trading. Carrot, my wife and I are sitting there laughing like, this dude's not day trading. Like, this dude's trying to mimic what he sees me doing, you know? And then he sees me get into jujitsu. And so now he's, ugh. And it's just kind of like, all right, bro. Like, I end up feeling sorry for him. But again, people mock. A lot of the times people's behavior is, you know, they lash out at what makes them feel bad, you know, and that can be a lot of different things. So thus is life. Yeah, Meta, honestly, Meta is one of the stocks that I missed out on. I thought Meta would be weak. You know, Meta lost $10 billion in the metaverse back in 2021 or 2022. It was one of those years. And it dropped down to under $100 a share. And then AI started coming out. You know, there was a time like Bitcoin was going up like this. Here, I'll put the actual chart up. Bitcoin was going up like this. Hey, you as well, man. Thanks. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Right, 100%. Yeah, and again, people just get weird, man. And again, a lot of times they just don't know. They just don't know who they are, right? So he's copying me because he doesn't know who he is. And again, a lot of people where they're like, yeah. He's one of those, like, I just feel bad for him, right? Like, I genuinely feel bad. I wish him the best. I have no ill will against him. I genuinely wish him the best, you know? Yeah. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, there was a time like Bitcoin had this crazy bull run. If you look back at like a long-term chart for Bitcoin, it had this crazy bull run in 2000 or in 2020, and it had this big bull run, right? But then we had a couple years of like a big bear market. So crypto had this longer-term bear market here, where we downtrended in crypto for years. And a lot of people at this point in time said crypto was done. They said crypto was over with, it was done, it was a gimmick, it was never gonna work, and all this other stuff, right? And a lot of people just kind of counted it out. This is when the NFT market started to fail. So if you look back at this period here, this is when the NFT market started to fail. NFTs never really came back from this period of time. This is when, like, you know, all this stuff started to run with like NFTs and everything here. So NFTs got really big. The Bored Ape Yacht Club got really big and all that stuff, and everything started to just go crazy. And then, you know, tech had this kind of bear year here after the pandemic where a lot of people counted it out. And this is where Meta dropped. Like, this is when Meta was under $100 a share. And to be fair, I thought Meta was weak. You know, Facebook was losing interest. You know, it's kind of like an older person thing. If you look at young people, usually they don't use Facebook, although they do use Instagram or something that Facebook owns in one way or another. But yeah, at this point in time, Meta had lost $10 billion in the metaverse. And the metaverse, in my opinion, was losing interest. I thought that it was a waste of time at a certain point. Like, you know, it's saturated when you get random like 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds that buy real estate and lose tens of thousands of dollars in the metaverse. The big issue is that there was no centralized form of it. There was all these different metaverses that people were selling real estate, kind of like a gold rush, and it was never going to work, right? It was never going to work. You need to have one centralized form of it that everybody uses. And again, Zuckerberg thought that was the future, invested $10 billion, and then ended up, we had the crypto crash, the tech crash, the pandemic dump, bear market, and a lot of stuff faded back. Well, eventually Bitcoin started to do better, so eventually Bitcoin slowly but surely started to rebound, and a lot of this stuff kind of were rejuvenated. I think one of the things that helped Metaverse obviously was the Oculus Quest. I think they're making good business from that. It's making people, it's helping them really rebound back up, especially AI. Like Meta's Llama AI system is pretty good. I've used it personally. It's pretty good. And yeah, now it's September, and so September usually a bad month. Talk me out of losing my money today? Well, don't lose your money. Yeah, the crypto does have 4 cycles. Hey, baby. Okay. All right, guys. Why does the open start 1 hour late? I mean, what do you mean? Are you just now getting back on from daylight savings time? If you're overseas, the U.S. has something called daylight savings time, where the time changes by an hour twice a year. Yeah, so again, if we look at best and worst stock market months, the best months are April, July, October, November, December. The good months for the stock market, the easiest way to understand it is usually the fall months, right? So October, November, December, January. October, November, December are usually the best months, right? The fall months. Why? You can think about it like this, right? Because the stock market is based on purchasing and business growth, right? What part of the year do businesses grow the most, sell the most products, especially retail wise, but outside of retail everywhere? Where do people get bonuses the most, right? Holiday bonuses, a lot of people get them. And where are people inside the most that they're going to buy the most? It's the winter months, October, November, December, right? So those 3 months are the biggest months of the year. And outside of that, the worst months of the year are January. January makes sense from a logical perspective. It makes sense because people spent so much money in the previous months that they kind of have like a hangover in terms of spending in the following months, right? So people spend less, of course, in those months. February, January, that kind of rings true. August and September, though. So September, one of the worst months in the market. I'm seeing if I can find it. Usually I have a nice little graph here that I can look at. Yeah, so again, here is a graph. Yeah, this is from the Stock Traders Almanac. Just to give you the source behind this, from something called the Stock Traders Almanac. But if you look at this here, right now, here's September. September is the worst month of the year by far. This is average monthly S&P 500 index returns. And so, yeah, January, you get an average return of 1%. February, 0.1%. March, 1.2%. April, 1.5%. May, 0.2%. June, one of the worst months of the year, you lose about 0.6%. July, you lose about you gain about 1%. August, you lose 0.10%. And then September is the obvious worst month of the year, where, the market goes down an average of 0.5% in the month of September. It's not always the same, though. Like, we do have good Septembers and bad Septembers. And then again, October, November, December, the same thing we just talked about in that regard, where, again, they said January originally, but January looks pretty solid, January looks pretty solid. But again, September is a historically bad month for markets, and again, this is the S&P 500, and so I'm sure there's going to be some subtle differences everywhere. And so, yeah, we'll see. Here's Bitcoin in the year, though. So Bitcoin has had its big rebound. October's not bad. October's pretty solid, I would say. Is Trade-A-Bait working? Oh, yeah, everything's working fine for me on Trade-A-Bait. Everything's smoothing. And again, if you want to check out TopStep X is the platform to use, because if you look at TopStep X, all right, look at my last group of trades here. So again, check my last group of trades here. Here's my last group. Can y'all see this? Here, I'm in my way. Here, I'll get out the way. Right. So look at this. This is my last group of trades here. So out of my last group of trades, and the good thing about TopStep X is that it's $2.80 fees per trade, and that's it. It's zero commission on TopStep X. So getting funded on TopStep X is the way, I think. Because like, look, so here's my last group of trades. We've only had 2 losses out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 19 trades, 2 losses. Basically, we're running at 90%, right? Basically, we're running at 90%. Every 10 trades, we're losing about once over the last 20, basically. And again, the great thing about Top Step X, again, super useful, right? Super useful. Top Step is a funded account program in futures. And so if they give you a demo and they test your skill with a demo account first, if you pass the test with the demo, they then fund you the same amount on a regular account. And again, Top Step is one of the most legit funded programs in the world. It's good because most day traders lose. Regardless of who you follow, what course you take, you're probably going to lose your first couple day trading accounts. It's inevitable, almost. You're almost certainly going to lose. And so instead of putting up $5,000 yourself, that's basically flushing $5,000 down the toilet. It genuinely makes no sense. Everybody thinks they're going to be the one trader that succeeds. When you're learning, a funded account program makes perfect sense. It's something that's genuinely good for traders, that genuinely protects traders, that genuinely allows traders to take some risk, to risk something, to learn how to trade under that risk and pressure, but not risk thousands of dollars to get it done. So again, they're going to give you a $50K demo account. If you can make $3K in profit on that without losing $2,000 first, so a 2 to 3 reasonable ratio, if you can do that while following their rules, and their rules are reasonable, they fund you $50K, 90% split, and they have some of the best rules in the game with funding. You can DCA, you can do all this different stuff. Really, really cool platform. And again, their platform has no commissions, only a small amount of fees, less than $3 a trade. Very cheap, right? That's the way to do it. And again, once you're funded, there's a 90% split, so you can make, you can do whatever you want to do once you're funded. If you make enough money, you could fund your own account. And again, it's just useful, right? It's useful. Now, again, they're an affiliate of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased because of it. But again, Top Step, one of the most legit in the world. They paid out over $40 million to their traders. They have some of the best rules in the game in funding. And again, in the futures market, you can day trade, and there's no PDT rule. The NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, gold, the Russell, some currencies, and it's just really, really useful. So check it out. Here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. So we have ISM manufacturing PMI data coming out later. So ISM manufacturing PMI data coming out later. A big report, guys. It's a big report. So we did get this bounce. I was thinking that we were down a little bit. I think NVIDIA is going to influence everything, though, today. So I think NVIDIA is going to be the big report. Or NVIDIA is going to be the one that moves markets today. So you probably want to watch NVIDIA. Yeah, Tesla is just volatile, is the easiest way to put it. I like Tesla long term, but it's just volatile. What stock is that, Pawn? PCVX. Good long-term chart. See, I just look at that gap. What a big gap here. This thing's gapping up from 80s. Is this a buyout merger? Okay, yeah, no, this is good bio news, bio results. This is good trial results, huh? Let's see. Yeah, it's a big move. Yeah, have a good day, Jeremy. It's all good, bro. Again, the way you have to look at it is that day traders almost always lose, right? And so do you think it's better for a new day trader to put up $5,000 of his own money? Of course not, right? Like, they're almost certainly going to lose that $5,000. These prop firms give you a way to get started and not risk $5,000 to be able to day trade. You know, you're going to be able to day trade futures. You're going to be able to have the same type of conditioning factor of like learning how to trade, conditioning yourself to make the right decisions without the risk, without as much risk. You're still risking $49 a month for Top Step, but it's way less than what most day traders had to do historically. And I had to lose thousands to face it as well, right? And so people might get mad, they might get weird. You know, a lot of the time that stems from people trying them out and losing themselves, and some people just kind of blame whomever else it is besides themselves. But generally speaking, if you take somebody that's going to put up $5,000 themselves and instead put them in a prop firm, they're generally going to lose much less. Even if they lose a couple accounts and then give up forever, right? That's still going to save them money versus putting up $5,000 themselves and losing that. You know, the good traders are going to be good traders. The bad traders are going to be bad traders. And that's okay. But it's a lot cheaper to lose on Top Step than it is to lose with a regular account. And I think that's objectively, obviously true. NVIDIA's down today. I don't know if it had any really major news. But again, I'm biased because they pay me money, you know, like they're an affiliate of mine. They pay me money. But again, I think they're genuinely good for traders. Yeah, so everything's kind of down overall. Yeah, we got the monthly jobs report on Friday, which is the payroll numbers. The number has big ramifications for the Fed's decision on September 18th. Although I don't think it's going to change what they do, regardless, you know. Right, 100% scrub. And again, I think a lot of people try it out and then lose, and then they blame whomever they can. But again, a lot of people got to understand, day traders are going to lose regardless of where they go. Like, it's a lot cheaper to try Top Step and lose than to put $5,000 into toss and try to trade futures or stocks even. Day trading and lose that, you know. And so you gotta really look at it objectively, and I think that's hard for a lot of people. Tesla. Yeah, Tesla's gapping up some too. I'm seeing if they have any news today. All right, so Tesla plans to produce a 6-seat Model Y in China overseas, and so the stock's going up on that news. Again, it plans to produce a 6-seat Model Y, according to a report. You know, that's the news right there. Let me get myself out the way here. But yeah, you can kind of see. Right, exactly, life-changing, 100%, man. Anything else you guys see today newsworthy here? I'm looking at NVIDIA. Again, they got Taiwan Semiconductors down. So risky bets such as growth stocks are typically frowned upon when risk sentiments, when risk goes down. Or risk goes up. Yeah, Taiwan Semiconductors fell almost 2% this morning after a report said China-made chips are now only 3 years behind the former technology, citing findings by teardown experts. It said the U.S. efforts to obstruct exports of high-performance chip may not be as effective as the domestic industry, and China is gearing up to take on the challenges with innovation. So basically, they're saying they're catching up to us in terms of microchips, right? And that's making a lot of microchip stocks like TSM, as well as NVIDIA, you know, and AMD's down too with it, right? So a lot of all chips are down today on that news. Basically, that overseas are catching up with us in terms of microchips is one of the things that I see. Yeah, for sure. And again, what this allows you to do is take it slow, Ty, right? Yeah, I'm going to put it in sub-only mode. But yeah, what this allows you to do is take it slow. And taking it slow is a useful thing, right? Like, most day traders are going to lose. I'm very outspoken about this. Most day traders lose. And so would you rather risk $5,000 and probably lose it? Or would you rather take on some risk for 40 or for $50 a month? Right? If you lose it, you're out $50 a month. But if you pass it, you get funding, 90% split. And most people fail because most day traders lose. It doesn't matter where they go. And again, you really got to look at it under that lens. But like I always say, I'm biased. Can you see somehow who's buying the stocks? What stocks? That's kind of a vague question. Can you see who's buying stocks? What stocks? You can look at time and sales. Just make 10% a day and be a millionaire in less than 80 days. Research. Are you serious? Genuine question. Are you serious? Do you think it's easy to make 10% a day? You know? How did I get into trading? I saw the movie The Big Short with my wife when it first came out almost a decade ago. And prior to that, I was a poker player. And so I played poker a lot, I had other jobs. It's not like I just professionally played poker. I made some money doing it, but definitely not like full-on professional. But poker was like my favorite game, obviously, and I would make a little bit of money doing it. And I went and saw the movie The Big Short, and I always like chess and checkers and stuff, strategy games. I went and saw that movie and fell in love with the stock market, basically. Started researching it. I started this channel, years later with the idea of like, hey, I'm going to just tell people I'm not an expert, which I still do. I'm not an expert, not an investment professional, Not liable if you lose either. If y'all lose, it's on you. But eventually that kind of got the traction in the stock market. I started researching it, fell in love with it, and just kind of grew from there. Actually, I think it's hard. Well, it's not just hard, it's impossible to consistently make 10% a day. Research. That's why I'm asking you. So again, you see comments like this that say, hey, you could just make 10% a day and be a millionaire in 80 days. Honestly, a really good year for a lot of investors and traders is 10%. So to assume that you can make that regularly day in and day out is a ridiculous. Again, what it really means is that you don't understand the stock market. No offense to you. It's all love, right? I'm not trying to insult you. If you genuinely think that you can make 10% a day on average every single day, not even every single day, if you think that you can make 10% 4 out of 5 days of the week and really on that 5th day make, even if you make 0%, it's just never going to happen. That would be, again, if you continued, you would be the richest person in the world. All right, so let's say you made 10% a day and you had $5 grand. All right. In 30 days, where'd it go? In 30 days, that $5 grand is going to be 165K. It's just never going to happen. You'll be the richest person in the world. Let's say you got $5 grand. We'll do it click by click. This is 10% a day. Let's say you have 20 trading days in a month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So yeah, that's 20 days in a month, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In 40 trading days, you'd have 226K. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Within 60 trading days, you'd have over $1 million from 5K, right? When you extrapolate this over a long time, like a long time frame, within like 2 to 3 years, you'd be the richest person in the world, brother. It would never happen. It would just never happen. It's just not easy to make 10%. It's incredibly difficult to make 10%. The more you try to make short term, the more likely you are to lose your whole account, right? So if you have let's say you got a $10,000 account and you're like, hey, I want to make 10% daily. If you try to make 10% on that $10,000 account every single day, that whole account's going to go bye-bye within a couple weeks. 100%. Right? Maybe not 100%, but it's very, very probable that entire account, no matter how good of a trader you are, that whole account's going to go gone, or that's going to be gone within a couple weeks if you try to make 10% every day on that account. It's just not feasible. It's not practical. It's not something that you can regularly do. And if it was that easy, Goldman Sachs would pay you $1 billion or more for that type of system if you really could make 10% daily on average, And so the people selling you a dream are usually the ones that are telling you that you can do that. They're trying to sell you a course and act like it's easy so that they can sell you a course, And again, a lot of people fall for it hook, line, and sinker, and they desperately want it. They desperately want to believe it's real, and so they ignore the red flags. We talk about this every day, but it's important. You're not going to make 10% every day, guys. It's just not a feasible thing. The best traders in the world make 40-50% a year, and I'm talking about trading specifically. The best investors in the world make 20-30% a year. And so you're not going to make 10% a day. It's just not anything anybody can really do. Yeah, that's exactly what I did, Don. Because you're missing compounding, DJ. So the calculation I just used, guys, is a compounding calculation. Okay, so for everybody to understand this, 5,000. Here's the formula. If you want to click it per day, you can. If you want to multiply it, you can. But if you just multiply it by the number, it excludes compounding in it, right? So 5,000 times 1.1%, right? So this means that 5,000, every time I click equal, 5,000 gains 10%. Okay, so I do it once, $500, 10%. I do it twice, and then now it's taking 10% of this instead, right? So it's compounding. I do it again, 10% of this is 550, right? So it added 550 to that number, so forth and so on. So this is a compounding formula that not only multiplies it times 10%, but uses compounding. So it multiplies it by the new 10% of whatever the new number is, you know. And so, yeah. Right. Well, because times 30 is not with compounding, dude. All right. Right, no trader's going to have a 100% win streak anyway. Look, honestly, guys, this is a pretty easy formula. I get, like, people are arguing about it. It's a pretty easy formula, man. Like, it's very self-evident. Again, every time I hit equal, it takes 10% of the new number, okay? Not super hard to understand, right? So if I click equal again, it's going to take 10% of this number and add it to the previous number, right? So now it's going to take 10% of 6,050, which is going to be 605, and it's going to add it to 6,050. See? And then you do it again, you do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Now it's taking 10% of 14,265. You click it again, it's going to take 10%. It's going to add it to that number, right? It's a compounding formula. 100% lose streak is possible. Yeah, I mean, you could lose every time for sure. Yeah, Donji is pretty butthurt, man. Again, regardless of who's right, it doesn't matter. Again, the first one I could have been wrong on, but which is why I just clicked it equal every time so that you can see the compounding formula. Who cares? Regardless, like, look, all right, so you take $5,000. The point is, you multiply it times 1.1%, which means that it adds 10%. Every time I click equal, it takes 10% of the new number and it adds it to that number, right? Which would be 10% gains a day. So we take this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 5 trading days, you're going to turn your 5,000 if you make 10% daily into 8,052. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 13K by the end of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 15 days, you're going to take 5K and turn it into roughly 21K. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in a month, it's going to be about 33,637. Either way. Yeah, this is simple multiplication. It's not calculus. Any big news for the week? Yeah, so we have non-farm payrolls is the biggest report. Tomorrow we also have the JOLTS report at 10. Yeah. Again, it's a pretty simple. Yeah, but again, so Don, man, listen, bro. You're taking me trying to make a simple point, and you're trying to find all this stuff wrong with it. You know, and again, I'm trying to make an example here. Honestly, it's taking up too much of the stream, brother. It's taking up too much of the stream, man. You know, nobody said, again, the first one I even mentioned after I did it, that me multiplying it times 30 was probably wrong, which is why I then multiplied it times 20, which about 20 days, you know, a month has 4.3 weeks in it, right? And so 20 trading days a month, like there's a lot of ways you could look at it. 20 days in a month could be missing a few days as well, right? We're not going to get the exact precise number. Nobody claimed to do that. The point of it is to give an example of why looking at 10% every day was not reasonable, you know? Yeah. Good day to you, sir. Yeah, right. Do I need to calculate tax with it? Do I need to look at all this other stuff? Like, come on now. If you want to find something small, cheers to you, sir. Good day to you. Yeah, you can't point it. The overarching point, now that we got lost in dumb arguments, is that you're not going to make 10% every freaking day. It's not a reasonable expectation. It's just not. It's not something that you're going to be able to reasonably expect from anybody for any gain in anything, right? Like, no asset is going to return 10% every day, unless maybe we're talking about Bitcoin for a small period of time. But it's certainly not going to last. And so, yeah. Does the ISM PMI ever move the market? It sometimes does. It's a pretty big report. The ISM, the one at 10 o'clock today, is going to be the biggest one for sure. Like the 10 o'clock report is going to be the most impactful. We do have another one. Like generally when you get PMI data, the biggest one is going to be at 10 o'clock, right? So ISM, which is the Institute of Supply Management, is going to be the largest report that you want to pay attention to. Yeah, man. You know, sometimes those old guys that get on that TRT or those steroids, man, they're just kind of freaking weird, dude. They're just off in the head, man. Usually it stems from like insecurity on their own part, and that's okay, you know, and that's all right. What I will tell you, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it, is that this formula is 100% correct, right? Like looking, if you want to see how much adding 10% compounding over any period of time is, right? Whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. If I wanted to look at it in terms of weekly, right? If I want to say, hey, how much, if I have 100K and I want to add 10% to that number, including compounding, you do it the same way. You do 100K times 1.1%. Again, if he understands math, incredibly simple formula. You do 100K times 1.1%, which means that every calculation, it's going to take 10% and add it to it. And then when I do it again, it's going to take 10% of the new number and add it to it, and so forth and so on. And so if I want to say this is weekly, right? 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. So after 4 weeks, with compounding included, you're going to make about 46% on that number, right? Again, that's the way you have to look at it. And that's a very simple formula that anybody that understands math should understand. This formula. It's pretty simple, right? I'm not going to argue about it. It doesn't need to be argued about. It's all love here. Good day to you guys. Yeah, he was probably forgetting to add to the new number 100%. He probably wasn't using compounding with it, but it's okay. You know, it's all right. My biggest issue is that he stayed here and argued about it for 5 minutes, just kind of getting weird. That's the bigger issue. Right, you have to include compounding. It's a compounding formula, right? They're like 10% a day. You could just add, like, look, right? Like, you could do, now I'm getting stuck on this, you know? But I could say, hey, I could say 5K. And so what's 10% of 5K? It's 0.1%. It's $500, right? So I could do $500 times 20 and get 10,000 or whatever it's going to be. But that doesn't include compounding. That's just taking 10% of 5,000 instead of taking 10% from the new number. So that's probably what he was getting wrong. But anyways, Yeah, next topic for the class: how to divide a number, guys. Anyways, the internet's freaking weird. You're not going to win every day. Some days you lose. The mental trick to trading is knowing how to make your losing days small. Right. A lot of the big mistakes that traders end up making here is that they end up having bad days where they lose a couple $100, right? You lose a couple $100 on a bad day. And instead of accepting that couple $100 loss, if you have a winning system that actually continues to make money, instead of accepting that that couple $100 loss, they end up just kind of not being able to accept the loss. And everybody's been through this as traders. I've been through it. Most people at home have been through this, right? Where you lose, you can't really accept it. But in trading, it can snowball and have this terrible domino-like effect where you lose a couple $100, you try to win back those losses. You lose $400 or $500. You try to win back those losses with larger and larger size until you lose a couple $1,000, and then you say, well, screw it, I'm just going to swing for the fences and try to win back this money, and then boom, your whole account's gone. That's very common in trading. And so again, the real goal is learning how to accept that and not give back everything that you've made. Yeah. Yeah, revenge trading for sure. I've done it, honestly. I've lost accounts doing it. It gets really bad when you if you don't have that much money, it's even worse, right? And I'm not using that as a shot at anybody about how much money I have now or how much money people have. I'm using that to show if you don't have that much money, right? Losing a couple $100 is a lot to you. If that's a lot to you, it's going to make you the most emotional you can be. And so you might end up desperately wanting to make that couple $100 back because it's a lot of money to you at a time. It gets a lot easier to accept losses when you're comfortable financially with whatever losses you're taking. So if you lose a couple $100, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. If $200 is a lot of money to you and you're struggling financially, that's when it gets really hard to look at and say, hey, I'm down 200 on the day. And I think that's when a lot of people keep trying to win it back when they shouldn't. They should just accept it. If you got a winning system, $200 shouldn't matter. But yeah. LSU lost another season opener, and he's arguing fundamental math 101. Listen, I don't know how I feel about LSU. I think they look good this year. I think USC is just really good. Maybe I just want to be optimistic about them, but yeah, I want LSU to be a good team, and I think the new quarterback looks good. He doesn't have the best legs, right? He's not the best runner, I would say. He's not like Burrow or definitely not Daniels. But he didn't look bad. He was accurate. At least for the first 3 quarters of the game, he was accurate. After that, he kind of fizzled. And I don't know if he has that killer instinct that you need. You know, Burrow would never give up on plays. This guy seemed to, you know. Yeah, the QB was good. Yeah, Molly's World, good movie. How'd you get on TRT? I got on TRT because he looked like he was a bodybuilder, Don. The guy Don looked like he was a bodybuilder. His profile picture looked a little, you know. And I never got behind, like, I'm not judging you if you're a bodybuilder. But, you know, you got those dudes that basically put on fake tan and, like, you know, they're obviously on steroids. A lot of the time they're just really emotionally unstable. And, you know, they just kind of end up going crazy. And again, I don't know if that's him, but I don't know, man. Bodybuilding competitions, and again, I'm not shooting shots at anybody here. Maybe I just don't understand it. They always seem like male beauty pageants to me, and I could just never really get behind that. You know, it's not that I can't get behind it. I can respect somebody if they've worked really hard and like built a good physique for themselves. I think that's great, right? That's genuinely great, especially if they're doing well in life. But I never wanted to do it because to me it seemed too much like male beauty pageants. You know, no offense. I just could never get behind it. I mean, I never had the body to do it anyway, right? Top 3 in the world, though. But yeah. Colts. The Colts haven't been good in freaking decades, bro. Not since they had the Manning guy in it. What's his name? Peyton, you know. All right, guys. ISM PMI in 10 minutes. I'm not going to switch the stream. I'm just going to do ISM manufacturing. We also have one at 9:45 a.m. So these manufacturing reports, again, I'm not going to say they're huge because it varies, to be honest, right? But yeah, let me get some of this stuff out of the way. All right, Chad. So again, we got ISM manufacturing PMI data. All right. That's sorry, guys. I'm updating the keywords. I might start to buy this dip in the NASDAQ. How long we got? We got 20 minutes left, so I got a little bit of time. All right, there we go. Yeah. Yeah. Think dividend paying stocks will continue to go up as interest rates drop. I don't know, man. I think the problem is a lot of the dividend paying stocks are retail. So retail stocks are struggling, you know, they're just struggling. Retail stocks, you know, technology has faced a lot of them out. And so if you look at like the highest divvy paying stocks, you know, Dillard's. Dillard's even still a stock, bro? Wow, dude, I didn't even know Dillard's. Yeah, Dillard's. You know, so a lot of these dividend-paying stocks are sketchy retail stocks. Like they're stocks that are on their way out, and they're paying high dividends to get people to keep holding them, right? So we're talking about Verizon, Comcast, legacy media companies are really, really sketchy. You know, the only good ones like Exxon is okay, but that's going to be based off of like macroeconomic trends and or geopolitical trends. I mean, you know, General Mills, Dow. So yeah, these are. I mean, some of these are okay. I think tech heavy stocks. Some of these are all right. I think. I don't really like Verizon as a company, even though Verizon pays a big divvy, and they did pretty good this year. So Verizon's okay, but I don't really like investing in them. Exxon is all right as well, but again, a lot of that is dependent on the price of oil. Altria, I don't know much about, which is MO. Comcast, I freaking hate. I wouldn't invest in them. I'm not usually like a moral investor that invests in what I like or don't like morally, but I hate Comcast. I'm never giving them money. I don't know much about MTD or MDT, although I'm sure some of these are big names. Starbucks. Yeah, I mean, Starbucks, if you can have strategic buys, they're fine. Dow Inc., they're okay. General Mills, I'm not investing in them. So some of these are all right. It just depends on the stock. I know, bro. I'm just hoping. Yeah. Somebody said, what's a realistic goal percentage daily? Oh, man. I don't know, dude. I would say... I'd say it depends on what you're doing, if you're investing or whether you're trading or whether you... it depends on what you're doing, right? I would say probably like a 0.25%. Like... Again, if we use the same theory, and again, this one might be wrong. I got to make sure I'm using a 0.25% compounding. But let's say you got 100K. Or what's a 0.25%? I don't want to say a 0.25% a week. But let's say 100K. Yeah. So here's the 0.25% calculation. I'm nervous to even do this because people are going to argue with me, right? So here's the 0.25% calculation. So if you made a 0.25% every day, and let's just call it 4 days a week, or let's call it 5 days a week, right? You make a 0.25% with compounding, you're going to make about, if you invest 100K, you're going to have about $1,256 in profits by the end of the week, with including compounding, right? I would say maybe that, if we do this, you're going to be making with compounding, it's going to be like a pretty good percentage return yearly. I don't even know if that's reasonable. I think that might be a little bit too much as well. If you extrapolate that over the whole year, I think it's probably still a little bit too much. But everybody's different. It depends on the strategy, and it also depends on the account size. I think you can try to make larger percentages in smaller accounts. You just got to be okay with losing the money. A lot of people do small account challenges and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Comcast is horrible. Well, market's not super slow. Market's down a lot. 251 working days, 10% is 0.3%. Yeah, I think that's probably fine, But it also is going to depend on a lot of stuff too, Yeah, oil is getting wrecked. Why is the oil down so much? It's stuff going on. Constellation Brands. So what do you think US dollar will go with the news ahead? I don't know, man. It depends. So payroll numbers going in high is generally going to be seen as more optimistic for the economy, and it should be more optimistic for the dollar as well, because higher payrolls is better for the dollar. Kind of the same thing with inflation, but inflation is seen as a negative. Like PCE data came out Friday. What did it come out at? I'm trying to remember. And generally, high PCE is bad. It means higher inflation. PCE data came out at, as expected, at 2.5% year over year. Core came in at 2.6, so a little bit lower than expected. But yeah, the dollar index is going to be its own animal. It really is. It's going to move with and against the market sometimes, depending on what the markets are reacting to. You know. Okay, yeah. So last week's OPEC announcement increasing production. Right. So people have to understand the reason oil goes down with an increase in production is supply and demand. Like it's oil is less scarce with an increase in production, and so it's worth less. You see a similar thing with bonds, you know. But yeah, oil, when you look at it, /CL down to 71s right now. 71s. We're gonna get ready to day trade on Top Step X. Yeah, so again, we're going to put up Top Step X, start to day trade. The question is, does NVIDIA bounce back today? NVIDIA gapping down a big amount. We'll see if it holds. Last liquidation of stops on oil before Pouncer. It's breaking that long support. No news on NVIDIA. People are upset about their margins going down, but clearly do not listen to their earnings call. It said that in the last earnings call that it would be due to favorable material prices in Q1. Yeah, the news on microchips this morning solo is specifically from overseas. They said that China was catching up with the US in their microchips, right? So they said they're only about a few years away from catching up with the US in microchips. This has caused a lot of negative sentiment across the board. NVIDIA down 3% pre-market. Yeah, well, it's not just NVIDIA, so it's NVIDIA, it's MU, it's AMD. It's all microchips, right? I'll read the news report that I saw this morning. I'm showing China-made chips are now only 3 years behind U.S. tech, citing findings by teardown experts. The report said that U.S. efforts to obstruct exports of high-performance chips may not be as effective as the domestic industry in China is gearing up to take on the challenge with innovation, is the reports that I'm seeing. Basically, they're going to catch up with chips. At least there's some optimism that they're going to catch up with chips, and in that regard, U.S. stocks for microchips are down a little bit this morning. NVIDIA specifically weighing the market down. But again, I'm a little bullish here down here. Like I said, we're still in the sideways choppy neutral range that we've been in all morning. So again, we'll see. Again, I'm not even saying I agree with this report. I'm just telling people why a lot of microchips are down this morning versus other stocks. Basically, they're saying they now made the iPhone 12. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Daphne? NVDL, yeah, NVDL is interesting. It's higher risk though, but it's less expensive. Or no, I'm sorry, this one's not. Okay, I don't even know if this is a regular leveraged one or not. I don't think it is. So, yeah, it's cheaper. It's 50% cheaper, which is good. Yeah, not to bring up the formula thing. So, like, I'm looking back at the comments, and so I've done this compounding formula a bunch, right? Like, obviously, I think something that I clarified that I did wrong is, for whatever reason, I hit multiply times 30, which, again, right afterwards, I say, hey, I don't know if that's the right way to do it, and I went back to just clicking equal for each instance of it, right? But, again, this is math I've done, I would say, at least 50 times. The compounding formula is very simple. And like looking for me to do one thing wrong and then me clarifying that I did it wrong and then redoing it is the reason he got banned, right? Like finding one instance where I get it wrong and then seeing me clarify it yet still bringing it up over and over again is why he got banned. Just in case people want to get weird with why he got banned. That's why he got banned. Anyways. AI says SPY has key support levels around 440. I don't know, man. The SPY's got a lot of... The SPY's close to lifetime highs. And so sometimes those high levels, especially if we get close to it, are kind of like magnets, right? A lot of the time we don't have it necessarily break it. But I think we're going to have some pull towards those highs. But again, ultimately it depends on what NVIDIA and the rest of tech do. Even though the SPY's less tech heavy, it's still very relevant towards everything. NVIDIA is what I mean. It's very relevant towards everything. And so NVIDIA, I think for the SPY to break highs, NVIDIA needs to push up a little bit. If NVIDIA pushes up, the SPY's close enough to where it could hit highs. If you look at the SPY here, you know, lifetime highs are right here on the SPY, like right here. Very, very close. Very, very close. And so I think that's an important spot, an important level. And yeah. So we'll see. Again, NVIDIA has to go up. If NVIDIA keeps breaking down, the SPY is not going to break lifetime highs. Obviously, it's not going to happen. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I want to short. I'm nervous about it. Like, NVIDIA just cracked lows right before the open. So we got 2 minutes into the open, and NVIDIA just dumped under lows. AI says resistance is likely to be around 460, where previous rallies have faced selling pressure. That might be true life-changing. I see that could be potential. Like, we're right there now at 560.50. So if we hold over that, I think it's a much better look. But we got a long road up, and again, a lot of it is going to depend on NVIDIA's resiliency towards bearish action. If NVIDIA can't hold, SPY's not going to break highs. You know. All right, here we go. NVIDIA hit 140 in July and is trading at 116 now. Yeah, but I mean, NVIDIA at 140s was up hundreds of percent, like hundreds and hundreds. Maybe it was close to 1,000%, I think. And so it's not reasonable to expect it to always break highs. The market doesn't always do it. I said it once, I'll say it again. I think if NVIDIA just holds, it's doing good, right? Like, it doesn't need to keep breaking highs. If it can just hold its gains, it'll save us from a potential market crash. And I think that's good. So yeah, I use Chat GPT. 4.0 is what I use. Here's the market open, guys. All right. There's the bell. Chad, there's the bell. All right, sorry, got a business meeting changed. Market's falling down. NVIDIA fell under 116s. All right, so we got this big breakdown at the open. I'm going to start maybe buying this up. Oof, this is a little risky, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut it. So we're down a couple hundred. Dumb mistake by me. We had already made 30. We already made a couple bucks this morning. Just a dumb mistake. I gotta wait. I think it still might work out if I would have held it, but it's too much risk for me to hold it. This is the problem. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, big red candle. Now we're flushing towards lows. NVIDIA all the way down to 114s. I'm going to buy this, see if we can make some money back. But, man, we are getting some big red action here. Let's see if we rebound some. I'm going to have to cut it. So we're down a couple $100. I'm going to have to wait until this settles down. Definitely a mistake on my part. Yeah, I see GameStop starting to run. I was wondering if you were talking about GameStop, Eric's, this morning. GameStop's starting to run a little bit too, but I don't know if it's going to keep running. But man, what a big drop in NVIDIA though. Again, I'm going to put up my actual funded account here too. Yeah, so I'm going to put my actual funded account up here too, so we can kind of go back and forth between the two. Apparently, I took one micro trade super early this morning and lost 150 bucks on my actual funded account. At least I caught it though. I completely forgot about it. Man, everything looking super weak though right now, guys. Man. Alright, so we actually made about 250. So we're actually not down that much. I might switch back to the top step combine. I'm going to add one contract to this. I'm trying to pick up a bottom here because I think we've dropped enough. But unless this just kind of turns into Red Monday. So we're in two contracts. We've also made a little bit back up on our top step combine here. So I don't know if we made it back. Let me see where we're at in terms of actual P&L. Okay, so we're actually slightly green on the day now somehow, man. Although we're red on this position, I got to be careful. I can't really add to this anymore. But we are kind of green on this account on Top Step X. Whew, kind of a whirlwind open, but we did catch some of that momentum. You can see 140, 45, 75. We lost 65, 120, and 175. So we did get back into the green here. I'm going to have to cut this on my actual funded account if we continue to break down here, though. Look at NVIDIA, though, guys. NVIDIA down to 113s. I wanted us to catch a low here, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. So we're going to put this back up. We're down a couple $100 on our actual funded account, which I'm not really happy about, but it's all right. I gotta let this downward pressure settle. I don't really want to attack shorts because it's too extended on the downside, but all right, so NVIDIA's right at 113s. I'm gonna change to micro contracts right now, guys. Because this is a little bit too much volatility for me. And we could take small little positions here and try to build up a cushion on the day first is what I want. There's two contracts. And again, we're slightly green. And try to build up small gains here. So we're up 30. So we got 4 contracts here. We just took a little bit off. 2 contracts left. You could also consider adding back some too if this doesn't bounce. Completely retrace back down. There's 3. Alright, so we made a little bit here. I don't know how much we made in that last little string of trades. It wasn't a ton, but it was something. We might switch back to regular NASDAQ positions. Again, NVIDIA did find some support at 113s. I'm going to go back to the regular NASDAQ. If we get some downward pressure, I will, but we need downward pressure. I think we're already down a lot. We do have manufacturing PMI data in about 7 minutes. Tesla is strong. Tesla up to 220s right now. GameStop popping up as well at almost 25s. So we got in one contract here of the regular NASDAQ. We're flat. All right, so we just made another 170 on this account. So we're grinding it up today. So far, so good. Again, we do have manufacturing PMI at 945. What a red open, though. You can see the string of trades that I've gotten in right here. Good accuracy, but kind of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So out of 20 trades, we've had 1, 2, 3, 3 losses, 1 break-even trade. So pretty good accuracy so far. We'll see if we keep it up, but man, I'm trying to see what number this account's at. Okay, so we need $850. A lot of red action coming through here, guys. I'm gonna buy this, even though it's kind of risky. See if we get a larger rebound here. Almost added it back, but so down 150. That's all right. Too big of a chance that we're gonna break lows. Look at NVIDIA coming down. I think that's only our 3rd loss or 4th loss, so we're at about 80%. Look at NVIDIA break 112s. We do have 5 minutes before PMI data drops. Look at this red action. All right, so we just made it back 130. I think we're down enough to where we can start targeting longs, but I also think that the data is going to be big today. So we just made a little bit more. Yeah, NVIDIA's down a ton. Again, I started to think, I tend to think it's time to buy it up, but I might be wrong. Don't copy me. Not an investment professional. Again, if you want to trade with me on TopStep funded account program and futures, again, they've got some of the best rules in funding overall. They got some of the best rules in the game. And again, there's no PDT rule in futures. You can day trade short, buy market, sell market. Very similar to day trading stocks. You can trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, basically the SPY and Q price action, gold, silver, the Russell, the Dow. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks, some currencies, and there's no PDT restrictions. So you can day trade short. The TopStep X, which is their debut platform, has no commissions either. So 0 commissions on their platform, which is a huge edge. Some of the best rules in funding. And again, they give you a demo and they test your skill. It's only $49 a month. If you can hit their profit target without hitting their max loss, the base one's $50K. In funding, you got to make $3K without losing $2K first. While following their rules and conditions, they fund you $50K, 90% split, and they pay out millions of dollars. They paid out over $40 million I think it's since 2020. So again, if you want to check it out, they are an affiliate of mine. They pay me money, so I'm definitely biased. But again, if you want to check it out, here's the link. Understand CFTC 4.41, hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Remember, I might be terrible and have no idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Don't copy me. I do trade off stream. You're not going to see all my trades. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader. So if you want to check it out, here's the link. Yeah, the market is red right now. We are getting a big rebound bounce, though. Let's see if NVDA can hold. Again, in 2 minutes, we've got we've got manufacturing PMI for August expected at 48. It's not the big report. The big report is at 10. So the big report is at 10 a.m. All right, so we did get a little rebound here. All right, so here's the report, guys. We got 30 seconds left until this report. Again, this report is just base manufacturing PMI. It's not from the Institute of Supply Management, and it's expected today at 48. The regular ISM PMI is expected at 47.5. The higher this number is, the more strength in manufacturing. The lower this number is, the more weakness in manufacturing. Tesla completely did a 180. Here's the report, guys. So here's the report. 10 seconds. Yeah, Tesla did a complete 180. Is now, or no, was that? Yeah, Tesla completely did a 180. Now testing red to green line. Again, 48 is what's expected. Here's the report right here. We'll see if it moves markets. It came in at 47.9, basically as expected, 47.9. So a little bit lower, but basically as expected for manufacturing. All right, so we're gonna, the next step in this, try to get funding is to add to a position here. There we go. All right, so we're out. So we made another $100 there. How much do I need left? Okay, so we need about 750 to get funded here, about 750 in trades. All right, let's try to get it. We got a couple minutes left. We're gonna take our big risk of the day here. Luckily, though, we have room, so we can add to this position. If we get into a nice green trade, like we can add to it like this and be basically flat and see if we pop back up. Kind of like a brief consolidation period. Oof, what a drop. All right, we just took $70 off. We made a little bit there and what was going to be a very red trade. Just a little bit more. Oof. All right. Going back and forth, but still up about about $220 here. So we don't need that much left. If I can wait for some good trades, we should be okay. Yeah, we need about 500 bucks, and we are there. We got a nice little cushion on the day too. So if we're gonna do it, bad fill here. I'll add to it, see if we get a pop back up real quick. And we took half off. Almost there. All right, we're very, very close. Yeah, we need $80. 80 bucks is what we need. So I'm gonna switch to micros and try to pull that last little And try to pull that last little $80 from micros here, chat. Yeah, you can kind of see it. All right, so now we're exactly $50 away. So we're exactly $50 away. We got 12 minutes. I'm gonna start to short, and I'm gonna switch to the other side and try to get this last. All right, so we're gonna see if we can get this last little bit short. All right, we're $20 away. One good trade. Almost there. I'm gonna add to this too. As long as we don't keep ripping up, we should be fine. Flush once. Yeah, I like this short level, but anything could happen here. It's kind of up in the air. I need like $5. One good breakdown here and we'll get it. All right, we did it. All right, so we are funded now on this one. This is funding. So we got it. We're up to $53,004. So you love to see it. You love to see it. We had to make like, today we had to make like 12 bucks. Or no, I'm sorry, about $1,200. And so we did that. And so that'll be our first Top Step funded account. On Top Step X that we've gotten in a while since switching to Top Step X. So that's nice. We got a couple other funded ones, but not on Top Step X, which I think is really useful. And so now we can basically scale down size and trade a little bit smaller once we get that account set up. Should be this week. And yeah, like I said, if you want to trade with me, we're also down a couple $100 in our actual funded account here on Tradeabate. But yeah, if you want to check it out, again, here's Top Step. Great way to help support your boy in this channel. Again, you can see me get funded live here on this channel, so that's always nice. But yeah. All right, so now we're flushing down a little bit. It depends on what NVIDIA does right here. We'll keep trying to play with this one. But 2 contracts. The wash sale rule is, yeah, I'm sure the wash sale rule does apply to futures. The wash sale rule, everybody misunderstands it. The wash sale rule basically means that you can't lose $1,000 on a symbol and then gain $1,000 on a symbol and write off the loss like you didn't, like you're not net even on it. You know, so if I make $1,000 on the SPY and then lose $1,000, I can't write off the $1,000 loss and pretend like I'm really down when I'm break even. That's what the wash sale rule implies. It means and you know, that's what it restricts, is you doing that. All right, so we got a little bit there, gained a little bit. All right, guys, we got 7 minutes left before manufacturing PMI data. ISM data is the big one. Again, it's the major one that you want to pay attention to. So ISM data coming out, guys, pretty soon. Alright, so right now the NVIDIA chart's looking a little flat, and I thought this would stop the SPY from breaking highs. NVIDIA had to move up, but now the NASDAQ's kind of flat here. Alright, so SPY testing lows. So again, ISM manufacturing PMI is expected at 50 or 47.5. Subscribe to chat. We appreciate the love, guys. There's the link. Check it out. Do a quick poll on data. Got you. Yeah. So I'll end this poll. Does manufacturing PMI data cause bullish or bearish action today? Vote on the poll. We got 6 minutes left. 6 minutes. Market just cracked lows again here, chat. Again, another low break. We got 6 minutes to where we can maybe play off of this downward pressure and ride a bounce back up. We'll see, though. I didn't really get the best fill here, but that's all right. Just trying to hold. Catching this bounce. All right, so we brought our losses down some on this account. We're only down to 200 now. All right, guys, we got 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Looking at our poll numbers here, we got 70 votes already. 58% are bearish. 42% are bullish. It doesn't mean that's going to happen either. We don't really know. But yeah. All right, guys, we got 3.5 minutes. Who didn't get what fill on what? I mean, we have data, but it's ISM PMI data. Manufacturing PMI doesn't generally move the market a lot. It's not really a huge report, I would say. It's not like it's CPI or PCE data or GDP or anything like that. It's manufacturing PMI data. So it's not the biggest report in the world, but it's not necessarily small either. And so, I mean, it's worth paying attention to. Again, y'all do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. We got 2.5 minutes left. We got about 800 people here watching. Does the Dow get affected by PMI? To a certain extent, yes. So higher number here. Like the previous number came in at 47.9, basically flat. The higher the manufacturing number, the more strength in manufacturing, which can have implications towards like inflation and economics and stuff. Economic strength, that is, or weakness. If it's lower, it generally means weaker manufacturing, and right now it's expected. ISM data is expected at 47.5. The more under 50 means a contraction in manufacturing. The more above 50, it means an expansion in manufacturing. So they're expecting slight contractions in manufacturing, although it is a less weak contraction than last time at 46.8. This time they're expecting 47.5. But yeah. All right, SPY bouncing back up a little bit. Not necessarily, Rigo. Possibly, though. It could happen like that. We don't really know. What about the Russell? Russell's small caps. It's a different animal. All right, so we got a few hundred votes already. Now we got 51% bull, 49% bearish. All right, we got 1 minute left, chat. 1 minute. All right, here we go. What about Bank of America? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball here, guys. I have no idea what some of these things are going to do. Yeah, I mean, look, today is one of the weaker days of economic reports, if it makes you guys feel better. Like, this is not the biggest report this week. The biggest report this week is non-farm payrolls on Friday. Second biggest report is probably the JOLTS report tomorrow at 10. All right, guys, 10 minutes, or 10 seconds, 10 seconds. We'll see what happens. Again, it's expected at 47.5. We'll see what it shows up as. And here's the release right here. We'll see what the market does. Okay, PMI data came in lower than expected. Prices came in higher than expected. So 47.2 versus 47.5 expected. Again, 47.2 versus 47.5 expected. So weaker manufacturing data than expected. I'll put it up on screen. It showed a weaker manufacturing sector than expected. And so far, the market has negatively reacted to that. Just cracked lows of the day on that report. The NASDAQ falling down with it as well. And so you see it does move markets, right? Here's the report right here. 47.2 versus 47.5 expected. So lower, weaker. Prices were up, though. So manufacturing prices came in at 54 versus 52.1. I'll put that data report on screen as well. New orders came in at 44.6. Last time they were at 47.4, so less orders. So, yeah. Prices, construction spending came in at minus 0.3% versus the expected minus 0.1%. So all this stuff shows a little bit weaker economy than expected here. I'll put both of these reports up. Market dropped. Sometimes the first move is the wrong move. Market dropped and then immediately rebounded back up. Look at the SPY. Look at the NASDAQ. Look at NVDA. Yeah, that's basically it for today in terms of big economic reports. We got like Australian GDP data. Some short-term bond auctions, 3-month bill auctions expected at 4.98%. It's a good return for a freaking short-term bond, which is called bills, right? If you want to know the difference between bonds, bills, notes, right? Short-term are called bills, long-term are called notes, medium-term are called bonds, right? They're all bonds, right? Bonds is the easiest way. You could just use bonds as a universal term for it, but yeah. It's all the same thing. It's all loaning the government money for a guaranteed return, right? In this case, if you loan the U.S. government money for 3 months in a 3-month bill auction, last time it came in at 4.98%, so you're gonna make about 5% annualized. So it would be whatever. If you got 100K, you know, if you got 100K. and you buy a, we'll call it a 6-month bond that pays 4 points. You're gonna make about $4,700 a year. Off of that bond, right? A little bit less than 5%, about 4.7%. You're gonna make about $4,700 a year. If it's a 6-month bill, you would just divide this by 2 to see your annualized return of that bond. So by loaning the U.S. government $100K for 6 months, they're gonna pay you about $2,350. And then at the end of that 6-month period, you're gonna get your $100K back. It's what's called a maturity date. Yeah, I mean, the poll is just the poll, bro. The poll is pretty neutral anyways, right? Yeah, it's 48-52%, so the poll's pretty neutral. Usually based off of what people want. Nobody's even claiming it's going to be accurate or anything like that. Anyways, guys, market's down. Again, if you want to check out my sponsor, check out Top Step. If you want to learn to day trade, do not risk your own money. Almost all day traders lose. If you put up $5,000, you're almost certainly going to lose $5,000. It makes no sense to. Instead, try a funded account program. In that situation, if you lose, you only lose what you pay for it. In this situation, they're going to give you a $50K demo. It costs $49 a month. If you can make $3K without losing $2K in that demo with following their rules, which are reasonable, then they fund you $50K with a 90% split, and they have paid out over $40 million since 2022. They've been around for over 12 years. They're one of the most legit in the game. They have some of the best rules. Once you're funded, some of the best rules in the game. And again, it's just a great way to learn. And instead of risking thousands, you can risk $49. You still learn how to trade under pressure. It's a perfect middle ground. And in the futures market, the patterns are very similar. Like if you look at the NASDAQ futures contract and then you look at NVDA, like look at these two charts and look at how similar they are. And you can day trade this left one here. No PDT rule. Looks very similar to NVIDIA. Just a great way to learn. Although, again, they are affiliate of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased because of it. If you had $1,000, what would you do to double it? That's the worst mindset you can have in the market, guys. Worst mindset you can have. Yeah, the market's tanking right now. I mean, it's not really tanking, I would say. It's kind of like, it's kind of neutral, to be honest. It reacted to the economic report right here, but it hasn't really moved with it. You know. But yeah, so I wouldn't try to double $1,000, Andre. If I had $1,000 and I had to do something with it, I would probably try to start a business with it of some sort, right? And then use that business to earn more money, and then use that money to trade with, right? Because if you only got $1,000 to trade with, it's not enough. If you want, realistically, if I had to put it into the market, I'd probably just buy some stocks with it, some blue chip stocks. Depending on your risk tolerance, you could buy some blue chip stocks. You could buy some stocks with it, but it would need to be long-term holds, or maybe you can swing trade with it. You'd have to be good at swing trading, though. There's a lot of ifs and buts about it. It's kind of a really generalized question, so I don't know. It depends on the person, depends on how good at trading they are, how good at swing trading they are. If it was me personally and I only had $1,000, I'd probably try to put it into swings of some sort, like swing trading, blue chip stocks. Wait for a really big pullback in a couple blue chip stocks. Buy those pullbacks and wait a couple weeks, see if we bounce back. That's usually a good way to earn short-term good percentages. But you got to be good at it, and most people aren't good at it, and most people lose money. So if you're brand new to trading, you're probably just going to lose it. I would just take it slow, and yeah, you could lose that very quickly. So just be careful. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Y'all be good. We'll be back tomorrow bright and early. Again, tomorrow we got the JOLTS report, the JOLTS job opening report, probably the second biggest report we got this week. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the afternoon, or in the morning, very big report, very relevant report. Come on, man, he wanted me to say 0 day till expiry options. I know, man. Listen, top 3 worst option trader in the world right now. Y'all be good. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.